Hello everyone, my name is Joris. I will do the mid-round adjustment deputy speakers workshop. So a few things about me. The first is I'm from the University of the Philippines, Cebu, and I've been debating for 4 years. I am a deputy speaker. I am a first speaker, but in Asian parliamentary format, I am a deputy speaker. So I'll just tell you a few caveats. This is not the end all be all of the deputy speeches. This isn't, I don't claim to be the best. What I'm gonna teach you is just really the way that I deal with deputy speakers and mostly how others deal with this as well. So, for the outline of this lecture, first is we're gonna talk about the UADC manual of deputy roles. We'll talk about what is expected of you on paper, but also we'll proceed to what is really expected of you in the debate, and then we'll move forward with the common problems for deputies, and then I'll offer some solutions, and then I'll give some tips afterwards. So this is what the UADC manual tells you about a deputy speech. So a UADC manual is a United Nations Debate Championship manual. It is what we are utilizing in this tournament as well. It is a manual used internationally, especially in the Asian circuit, perhaps with the Asian parliamentary format, since we're the only circuit that does this, given the name as well. So this is a centralized manual negotiated and crafted by debate champions and chief adjudicators for the UADC per year, and it is updated for a year as well. So deputy speakers, which are DLO and DPM, shape the middle of the debate. So you are usually after the PM to LO exchange, and you must respond to what has happened so far and strategically position your bench moving forward. So this is expected of you based off the manual. For DPM, you need to rebut the arguments of the previous speaker, which is the leader of opposition. So whatever that they say, you have the responsibility to respond to it, prove why it's untrue, or prove why it's not as important. And then you proceed with the rebuilding of the arguments of your prime minister. You look at what has been responded and why is that response not enough. You look at what foundations are needed for the prime minister's speech to be still relevant in the middle of the debate, and you look at what needs to be rebuilt more and explained more, since if you think that that wasn't something that the prime minister was able to fully flesh out. So it is upon within your responsibility to rebuild these arguments at hand at deputy prime minister. You also provide additional arguments. That's what we call extension. We'll nuance later how to make extensions. But ultimately, you do have the responsibility to expand the debate, not just on what PM talk about, but also you do have the primary responsibility to provide additional arguments, may it be vertical or horizontal extensions. But also, for DPM, you mainly deal with the definitional challenges as well if necessary. So if leader of opposition launches a definitional challenge for prime minister's definition, then you do provide and deal with it, why your definition is still true, or why even if that definition from LO is clear, it's still not something that you could utilize to win the round, that they could utilize to win the round rather. So ultimately, a definitional challenge is done through leader of opposition. That's where you flag that you don't necessarily agree with the characterization or the definition that your prime minister was able to point out in the debate. So if the debate is about this house will ban zoos and prime minister says that zoos are enclosed space for animals for human entertainment, and there is a definitional challenge for leader of op, they could probably say that it's not about an enclosed space but also a large space, but also it's not for entertainment but for education. So you could deal with it as to why that education um, definition is not true, or why, even if that's true, why it's still not as important given that your stances is to ban Zeus in the first place. So you deal with it in ways that you know how, and it depends on the strategy of the team as well. So ultimately, the biggest challenge for Deputy is really to adjust because you cannot preempt and predict everything that happens in a round. You are confronted with probably an unfair claim. You are confronted with a really, really good argument, and you do have the responsibility to adjust since you are the second speaker and you are the first speaker to rebut to the PM to LO exchange. So you do have that responsibility. For Deputy Leader of Opposition, pretty much the same. You rebut the arguments of the previous speaker, that is the Deputy Prime Minister. You also rebut Prime Minister as well. You rebuild the arguments of your Leader of Opposition, same with DPM, and you also provide additional arguments. So you cannot deal with definitional challenges at Deputy Leader of Op since you could rebuild the definitional challenge, but you could not do that. The definitional challenge should be done by Leader of Op, or else it won't be a valid challenge. So what is expected of you? The first is to rebut as based off the UADC manual. So you need to directly respond to the most important arguments raised by the opposing prime minister or leader of opposition. You need to directly clash with the most impactful argument, impactful premise, persuasive mechanism, and you identify logical flaws, missing links, weak assumptions, or unrealistic impacts, and you need to explain why their argument does not stand or does not matter. So either you disprove the argument itself or you prove that that argument might be true but it's not as important as your argument. For the rebuttal and extension, you need to rebuild and defend and strengthen your side's case. If it has been attacked, you need to introduce another argument as well. So for the rebuilding, you need to defend your prime minister or your leader of opposition. You need to clarify any misunderstandings or mischaracterization of the debate, and you need to strengthen the mechanism or impact if needed. So that is where you rebuild on whatever is necessary, but also you need to extend. Deputies should deepen or develop arguments already introduced, and you could introduce another argument as well. So if you want to deepen or develop the arguments, what you can do and what we call that is a vertical extension. A horizontal extension is a completely different extension. Um, but it's still, as long as it's still consistent with your prime minister and your stances as well. So you provide another analysis, you provide examples, you impact framing to strengthen your case. That's where you also clarify certain parts of the debate, and that's where you clarify what the debate is really about. For the weighing and the burden push, so ultimately, the weighing is done entirely by whip speakers, but you could weigh and you need to weigh as well at deputy. You compare which side brings more benefits or avoids more harms, or you explain which side was able to solve the problem, or which side is more persuasive in the principle, etc. So depending on what has transpired in the round. So you explain why your impacts are more larger or more probable or more urgent. That's where you weigh. For the burden push, you need to burden push a burden that you probably think is important. So you could probably push down a harm or push down a burden that the opposing bench needs to respond to the other side. If they fail to prove their claims, for example, even if both sides bring benefits, you need to burden push and say ours affect more people and is more immediate. Opposition has to prove otherwise. Or you could say opposition needs to respond to this claim, and then or you could say that they need to explain a certain mechanism. So that's just a burden push that you can do and is expected of you as a deputy. Of course, these are things that you don't necessarily do when you don't think it is necessary. So it really depends on you. For the structure, this is the structure that I also recommend. The first is you have an introduction, second is you rebut, third is you rebuild and extend, and the last is you weigh and push burdens. So if you're asking for a structure, that is the structure itself. That is expected of you as well. But of course, it depends on how you take it and it depends on how you illustrate it in the round as well. So it's not necessarily that you are mandated to follow the structure. It's just a suggestion and advice for everyone. So, what are the common problems for deputies? The first is, oh, I am confronted with too much material from my opponent. Like maybe PM launched several impacts and several arguments. I don't know which to respond, what to respond, and how to respond. We'll deal with that later on. But ultimately, as we told you time and time in the lecture, that it isn't about how, or it's rather, it isn't about how many is the argument, it's about the quality of that argument. So it's about how that argument was proven. So if you're confronted with too much material, you need to analyze which material is more persuasive and which material are not necessarily proven. But we'll engage on that problem later on. So for the arguments, like you deal with the arguments that were already preempted, you don't know how to respond to it. So preemptions are done via preparation time. So these things are needed. So if you think that it can be preempted or it can be responded, it is now your responsibility as deputy to maneuver and to prepare another rebuttal to that rebuttal. But also because you could not control the round, you do have the challenge, and that's why I think deputies have the biggest role in Asian parliamentary, since you really do have to have a round awareness of what has happened in the round, and you must think quick on your feet rather, um for you to really execute and win the round. The third is you probably were outframed by the opponent. So it means your argument were framed as not as important. And then the last is you really face a strong setup. Like there are a lot of prongs to a policy that you don't know how to argue your arguments now, given that it is deterred by the strong setup. I want to note that there are more problems with deputy, but these are just things that comes to mind when it comes to the problems that I had with deputy speakers. So the common solution for it is the first is listen carefully during the round. That's why it's important to listen harder. So you need to flow properly and you identify main clashes. This is the mistake for novice debaters. They think that if they have enough material, they could win the round. But even if that material is good, if it's not comparative and it's not responsive, then you could not win the round. So even if your arguments were good in isolation, it could change lives. As long as it's not, if it's not responsive to to the arguments of your opponent, and if it's not tied back to the burden of the motion, then you could not win. So what you need to do is to listen and to stop what you're doing. If you could not listen and write, so you probably need to listen and listen. Listen carefully and write it down. Like what is the strongest case of your opponent? And then you figure out how should you respond to it as you listen intently as well. So you really need to think fast as well. Do not panic. Focus on the core issues if you have a lot to respond. Look at what is important, and the way that I do this is I just ask, if I am a judge or if I am just an observer, what were the points that I could buy to my opponents? And so, for me, asking that right question leads me to writing the right answers, writing what is good for my opponent, and writing how could I engage to it and how could I outweigh it. And that's the third solution. Weigh during prep time. Decide what matters most so that you could find sufficient reasons to prove that claim that this matters most. Every rebuttal that was left not addressed and every unpreempted arguments are done because you have a poor preparation time. What you need to do is to really engage more and ask questions within yourself during prep because you would need to do this type of preparation and adjustment during round. So what when whatever I tell to my students is if you are having a hard time in the mid round, that's probably because you did not prepare enough in the preparation time. So you need to prepare enough for the rebuttals and you need to look for reasons to rebut this. But of course, you cannot weigh and preempt and um, rebut everything at prep time. That's why you need to think quick and adapt or respond to the setup. If the framing is strong, you need to engage with it and push your burden strategically. So the way to do that is if the framing is, oh, this happens in this X type of context, that's why op is not important, you then prove why it's just similar or why it's still not as important. So you really have to be direct. I know there's no way to teach this since it is done out of really experience and whatnot. So these are the practical tips to further have those solutions in mind. So the first is you insert clarifications of what the debate is really about, given that probably others might have a different take of what the debate. You need to prove your clarification well. It's just not enough to say that this debate is about the Philippines when there's no provision on the motion that this is about the Philippines. So you need to provide sufficient reason as to why your clarification is very, very important and true. So don't just assert. Clarify with intention and clarify with truth value. The second is always use comparatives. Which side is better and why? You need to analyze your arguments well enough. You need to analyze how to do that argument. And you need to analyze that your arguments do not happen in isolation, and therefore it's important for you to use comparatives. If I argue about checks and balances, the question should be, will this automatically get out on the opposing bench? Because if Gov argues people will have accountability, will they not have accountability? If I argue about people being happy with banning homeworks, the question should be, will people not be happy at all, regardless if there are homeworks or not? So at that point, you already ask whether your argument is exclusive because sometimes an argument is just an argument and all it does is just be there and be a flower and it dies with you and it's not as important if you don't ask the comparative. Like, will people be happy? Will people solve the problem if I solve the problem right now? And if you identify that, oh, they can still do that, don't abandon the argument. What you could do is explain why, even if they can still do that, number one is unlikely. Or the second path is you could take, it's about extent, it's about which side has more accountability or which side has more happiness. In that way, you are comparative. The third is you need to be explicit and destructive. Do not concede too quickly that you could easily say, oh, even if they have that, we're still better. No, don't do that. Be explicit on your responses and be destructive. But if you must and you will, because you need to concede to things as well, then do it sophisticatedly. Do it strategically. The fourth is you need to prioritize the most important responses and arguments And the structure of your speech clearly can be rebuttal, rebuilding, extension with the rebuilding, weighing, and then you forward a direction of the path to victory, which is the breathe and push as well. So that ends that debate. Hopefully, your love life is beautiful. That is not related to the role or the deputy speech as well. But I hope you have a good night or a day, regardless of where you are watching this recording. Thank you very much, everyone.